Hello, everyone. Welcome to College Football Game Day on Southeastern 14. Yes, we are going to cover the prime SEC matchups this week and also go outside the league for a couple of intriguing matchups with top 25 teams involved and also maybe some implications on some SEC teams, whether it comes to playoff implications down the road and all of that good stuff. So make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and you're right here as we prepare for the kickoffs of these games. I am Blaine Gilmer. You can follow me on Twitter using @BGilmer18. You can follow Southeastern 14 using @14 Southeastern. We are excited to have kickoff coming today and ready to preview some of these games. And the first one we are going to jump into here is going to be none other than a game that features two teams that desperately are looking for a launching pad to their season here, and that would be Texas A&M and Miami. Both got off to really good starts, and when I say they desperately need it, is because these are two proud programs that haven't performed the way that they wanted to perform over the last couple of seasons. Jimbo Fisher, of course, is further down the line in his tenure at Texas A&M than is Mario Cristobal, but these two teams faced last year. And, this is going to be a game where I think both of these offenses are going to look entirely different than did last year in a more defensive battle between Texas A&M and Miami. You have Connor Wigman, who is now with Bobby Petrino calling plays and was taking shots downfield in that first game against New Mexico. I think this performance is going to look a lot different than that 17-9 kind of slugfest you saw last year in College Station. This game, Texas A&M comes in as a 4-point favorite at Miami, Hard Rock Stadium down there, and we're going to see a over-under of 51 according to Vegas, 3:30 kickoff time on ABC. You can find it on your local ABC station. And my question is this Ainias's moment? Ainias Smith is a guy who has been a leader, has worked hard, has done the right things there for Texas A&M. And last year, his season was ended, and many thought his time in College Station was ended due to an injury after the fourth game of the season. He decided to come back, and this is the type of moment that Ainias Smith came back for. When you look at things, he's a guy that has been around, done many different roles for Texas A&M. He returns punts. Of course, he's a receiver. He's ran the ball. And 2 years ago, he ran the ball almost 50 times for Texas A&M. I think you could see him do a little bit of that in this game coming up. And here's the reason. Texas A&M has a lot of young running backs in terms of experience. I know they have the Amari Daniels, Le'Veon Moss. They have the talented 5-star Reuben Owens that is there. But in a high-profile game like this, you may want to put the ball in somebody's hands who's, hey, been there, done that a little bit before, and that fits the mold of Ainias Smith. Jimbo Fisher had a media availability after the New Mexico game, and he talked about Ainias Smith and just how big he was. I'm going to read that quote for you. It said, hey, the push cracks he made, blocking on the safeties on the runs, he got some catches, but he cleared some routes out, created one-on-ones for other guys, playing hard, just being Ainias, just running the football, catching the football, blocking, being a team leader, and in the return game, went on to say, this was huge for us. The ability, that experience that he had and the talent in which he had, he said that was a huge loss for us last year. And then he went on to knock on wood, hoping that Ainias would stay healthy. Had a 44-yard punt return last week and had over 40 yards receiving. I think you'll see him get involved in the running game a little bit this week. This is a moment for Ainias Smith to come out and really, he's already beloved there in College Station, but I think he can put a statement on his career and have a huge multifaceted game for Texas A&M in this one. The keys to this game, though, overall, I think you're going to need to see that very talented defensive front of Texas A&M get to Tyler Van Dyke early. Try to take that Hard Rock crowd out of it. Listen, it's not a great college football environment. They're having to do buy one, get one ticket promotions to try to get people into the stadium there in South Florida and try to make sure that they have an environment that'll be conducive to a top 25 matchup. But I think Texas A&M, if you get to Tyler Van Dyke early, whether that's Fidel Diggs off the edge, whether that's Walter Nolan in the middle, Shamar Turner, Shamar Stewart, all of these guys, these talented guys, LT Overton, all of these talented guys that Texas A&M has brought in across that defensive front. McKinley Jackson, over the last few recruiting classes, if they can get to Tyler Van Dyke early, it'll take whatever momentum, whatever kind of crowd they're trying to build up has out of it, and then they can get Connor Wigman and all those talented receivers room to work and be able to say, okay, we're gonna try to end this thing early and get out of there. I like Texas A&M to go in there and cover that 4 points. I think you see them air it out in this one. Connor Wigman, I believe, is going to be a superstar. So give me Texas A&M to beat Miami, and I think they beat them by 10 points or more down there at Miami. I really, really like Texas A&M's ability to test that Miami secondary through the air. I think that's the weakness of this Miami team, and I think you're going to see Moose Muhammad have a bigger game than he had in week one. Of course, Noah Thomas went crazy. We've talked about Anaya Smith. Evan Stewart didn't play in this game last year, so give me Texas A&M to win, and I think they win this one like by 10 points or more. I could see this one being a 34-24 game, something along those lines. I like A&M and Connor Wigman and company to go down there and take care of business. Now, moving on to Alabama hosting Texas, 7.5-point favorite at Bryant-Denny Stadium. The over-under on this one is 54. This is a 7 o'clock Eastern kickoff on ESPN. And Bama has bulletin board material. Believe it or not, people have not learned their lesson. They are going out and they are questioning the GOAT, questioning the development of his quarterback, questioning, what's going on with maybe some young offensive linemen in the 2 deep, all this kind of stuff. There's lots of questions out there that people are saying, okay, is this the same Alabama? Can Alabama get back to the playoff? There's even people out there, even a guy that comes on our network with us each week, Jake Crane, is picking Texas to go to the playoff to win this game. You got lots of guys on CBS and on ESPN picking Texas, not only against the spread, but straight up. And I'm just saying, do that at your own peril. Particularly Kirk Herbstreit says about Alabama here, he says, quote, now your margin of error is going to be much tighter compared to having an offense that can score in 4 plays and score 45 points a game. Yeah, you're going to have to do it in a different way. You're going to have to control the ebb and flow of the game, which is where the defense and special teams and turnover margin comes into play. So really kind of questioning, okay, with Jalen Milroe at the helm, can this be a explosive offense? Can they score, up there in the 40 points per game? Go look at Alabama's schedule. You tell me more than 3 games maybe against Texas A&M, maybe Tennessee, Kentucky, after what we saw out of LSU in that Florida State game, what team on their schedule can Alabama not score in the 40s on? Okay, I think Jalen Milroe is as explosive as they come. He's a guy who is a just lightning in a bottle type player when it comes to what he has with his legs. I think he displayed that, but he also displayed some maturity in the pocket. I think you're going to see that here Saturday in this game versus Texas. And I think you're going to see some big time plays out of these receivers. Everybody's going in this game talking about Texas's receivers. I think Alabama has, maybe they don't have the top tier, a top 10 pick right now like they've had in the past at receiver and multiple of those sometimes. But I think spreading the ball out can be a strength of this Alabama team. I think they have more talented weapons that they can get the ball to than they've had in the past, whether it's Isaiah Bond, Kendrick Law, whether it is Malik Benson, the transfer from junior college that is set to do some big things. CJ Dupree, Amari Niblack at tight end. There's all kinds of weapons that they have. Of course, we know what Ja'Cory Brooks and Jermaine Burton can do. Then they have more guys that they can count on at the wide receiver position, and that helps Jalen Milroe in his process. But I think he's going to look polished. He's got zip on the football. Of course, we know his strengths. And listen, running the football at the quarterback position is a great equalizer for a team. I think what you need to see is you need to see that offensive line come out early, try to impose its will on Texas defensive front. They've got some really, really good guys over there on Texas defensive front, whether that's Ethan Burke off the edge, whether that's Sweat in the middle. They've got some guys that are very, very active, okay? And we're active against Rice in game one, but this is a lot different than Rice. And, okay, it's also different for Alabama. They're not playing Middle Tennessee State this time. So we need to see which defensive front and offensive front in the trenches there is going to establish dominance early. Alabama is going to want to do that with Tommy Rees. That's the whole reason Nick Saban brought in Tommy Rees, was to be physical, was to bring kind of that downhill mentality. And which running back steps up in terms of getting going. Justice Haynes is a guy that I think is the most explosive and the most dynamic back that Alabama has. Yes, he's a freshman, but man, I think you see him get a few more carries in this game than he did in the first one. All the Alabama running backs have to work on blitz pickup. That was an area of weakness there in the first game. But I think people going out here doubting Alabama just aren't paying attention to, listen, this is still Nick Saban. And look at this. This is still a talented team. This is the 24/7 talent composite. Look who's number one. Look who has the most talent on that roster. It is Alabama. Texas is down at number 6. And yes, they have a lot of talent at the wide receiver position for sure. And the health of Malachi Moore and Jalen Key are important in this. They've practiced this week, but are they 100%? There's a big difference between being able to play and being able to play at your best when you're going up against guys like Xavier Worthy, A.D. Mitchell, Jordan Whittington, Jatavion Sanders, and Quinn Ewers at quarterback. Very, very talented bunch for Texas. And Steve Sarkisian knows Nick Saban, but Nick Saban also knows Steve Sarkisian. And I really, really think you're going to see a tremendous schematical battle here between these two coaching staffs. But ultimately, I think the legs and the dynamic playmaking ability of Jalen Milroe, I think he has a coming out party, a really, really puts his, thumbprint on this team type game. And I think Alabama wins this one handily. I think they win it by double digits. I think that Bryant-Denny crowd gets rocking and rolling. I think you see Quinn Ewers get hit a lot in this game. I like Dallas Turner and Chris Braswell to come on pressure. The Deontay Lawson, Quinarius Robinson. I think you're going to see Kevin Steele use that cheetah package a lot, really get after Quinn Ewers, because I don't think they're tremendously worried about Texas just running the ball down their throat. They need to get pressure on Quinn Ewers and really just get after him, hit him early, hit him often. And remember, they knocked him out of the game last year, so that'll creep into your mind a little bit. I think Alabama wins this one by double digits over there. And I really, really like the Tide in this game, especially with the bulletin board material that they have been given. So that is Alabama and the bulletin board material and the Tide. I think they win this one by double digits over there at home, with Texas coming to town. Now, let's talk about some of the games outside of the league. I'm intrigued about some of these matchups. We're going to talk about, some top 25 teams, and also, the implications maybe with the SEC, even if loosely tied to them. And we're going to start off with Nebraska at Colorado. Colorado, a 3-point favorite here at home, sold out crowd in Boulder. Okay, this is going to be an exciting matchup. The over-under 59.5, 12 o'clock kickoff on Fox. And the question is, can Prime and company sustain momentum? Nebraska comes to Boulder on the heels of Coach Prime and his son Shadur and two-way phenom Travis Hunter shocking the collective college football world by defeating TCU at TCU. Yes, a team that had 86 new players defeated a team that played for a CFP national championship just in January of this year. Truly a remarkable story if you think about it. Meanwhile, the Huskers continued their Scott Frost trend of losing games, close games, even in game one of the Matt Rule era. They lost to Minnesota very late in that game. Nebraska just continues to get their heart broken late in games. There's no doubt that Nebraska played hard and has an element of athleticism with Jeff Sims at quarterback. They're going to want to run the football and try to shorten this game, especially with the new clock rules. But I believe that's going to be a tough task for Nebraska. Their hope is going to have to be running the ball against a Colorado defensive front that allowed 262 yards rushing to TCU. Now, Deion Sanders said, hey, the linebackers have to step up and do their job for this defense. But I think this Colorado crowd is going to be raucous. It's a sellout. There's so much momentum and excitement. I don't think Nebraska wants to get into a shootout with Shadur Sanders and Travis Hunter and that wide receiving core that had 4 100-yard receivers in game one. I'm riding the momentum. I believe in Prime and the start over there. 2-0. I think they go in front of Buff Nation. And the reason this has SEC implications, guys, is because there's lots of SEC recruits that are taking visits out to Colorado, not only for this game, but upcoming Colorado games. And Prime is going to be coming after some players that Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, Florida, all these premier programs that are used to kind of having their way on the recruiting trail. Prime is going to go after a lot of these guys, and the more success he has, the more he's going to dip into SEC country and be able to get some big-time prospects. So the momentum of Colorado is something that SEC fans definitely need to be aware of. Next game, Notre Dame minus 7.5 at NC State. Over-under is 51. This is a 12 o'clock kickoff on ABC. With that 7.5-point spread, the implied total and the over-under being 51, the implied total 30-21. Notre Dame is what Vegas and the computers have this one at over there. This is a trap game for Notre Dame. Listen, they've got some bigger games coming up down in the season, but could they have a perfect season? Could Notre Dame run the table? This game has more national implications than most would want to admit, especially after the lackluster performance of Ohio State in week 1 against Indiana and the loss of Clemson to Duke. Coming into the season, Ohio State coming to South Bend in week 4, and the Irish going to Clemson in week 10 looked to be 2 of the 3 toughest tests that Notre Dame would have all season. USC at home in week 7 is also another tough test. But now, who knows? Duke in week 5 may be one of the toughest tests. But with Ohio State and Clemson looking to have questions at quarterback, it looks like Sam Hartman is actually maybe the better quarterback in those matchups, and maybe in every game that they have, except the USC when they play Caleb Williams. So if Notre Dame avoids a letdown here against the NC State team, then I think, and they're already a 7.5-point favorite, then I think realistically you could look at Notre Dame running the table and getting into the college football playoff with what Sam Hartman has around him. They play good defense under Marcus Freeman. And what that would do is that would likely take a second available spot for an SEC team out of the picture. So Notre Dame could be the fly in the ointment here for, SEC teams getting 2 of their conference members into the college football playoffs. So something to watch with Notre Dame there. Sam Hartman, a difference maker, something that they haven't had at Notre Dame in quite a while. Maybe the best quarterback they've had there since Jimmy Clausen for sure. Now, Wisconsin minus 6 at Washington State. This game has an over-under of 58. 7:30 Eastern kickoff on ABC. And guys, I'm just going to tell you, Pullman is a tough place to play. Tanner Mordecai transferred into Wisconsin once Luke Fickell came on board from Cincinnati. For years, Paul Chryst and Graham Mertz, they led a stale 3 yards in a cloud of dust approach on offense in Madison. Tanner Mordecai comes in. He was one of the more productive quarterbacks in the entire country last year for SMU, a guy that in the first game in the bounce house, however, did not have a great performance, only throwing for 189 yards and throwing 2 interceptions. The Badgers did rush for over 300 yards. They've got Chez Mulezi and then also Braylon Allen, who, are just studs over there for Wisconsin. And Washington State, though, guys, they can sling it around themselves. Cameron Ward for Washington State, 451 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and completed 75% of his passes in game 1 versus Colorado State. Wisconsin is going to have to be more dynamic to avoid just getting outright upset over there at Pullman and Washington State, because listen, Washington State gave Oregon and Utah all they wanted at home last year, lost close games to 2 really good teams at home. Head coach Jake Dickert has this team believing, has this team, kind of turning the corner. Give me the Cougars to not only cover, but do the outright upset. Those are my picks for outside the league. Guys, this has been Southeastern 14's college football game day show. We are excited to bring you content each and every day here on Southeastern 14, daily coverage of SEC sports, and we have a big growing audience. We're doing well over 300,000 views per month, 150,000 unique viewers. If you want to advertise with us, if you want to take advantage of this audience, all these eyeballs that see the product, can reach out to caroline.smith@southeastern14.com, and we would love to work with your business. Guys, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe. It is absolutely free. Turn the notifications and leave your comments about what you think is going to happen on this game day, week 2 of SEC football and college football. Thank you again for tuning in. My name is Blaine Gilmer, and we will catch you guys next time to talk more SEC and college football.